You are listening to HOA Control Freaks. I wish this was exaggerated. You are not going to win this. Jennifer Wright stood in front of my truck in the Autumn Ridge HOA clubhouse parking lot, waving a laminated policy sheet like it was a search warrant. She had a portable thermal printer tucked under one arm and a folded printed agenda packet in the other hand. Her voice was loud enough that the security guard hovering near the clubhouse door turned to watch. I am a regional field technician. I work strict rotating shifts, and if my truck gets towed or I get locked out of the neighborhood gate because of some HOA stunt, I lose my job. That is not an exaggeration. My boss told me last month that one more late clock-in, and I am done. Jennifer slammed the laminated sheet against my hood. The bylaws were old and therefore irrelevant, she yelled. She said the board updated the parking rules 2 years ago, and my extended cab work truck counted as a commercial vehicle now. I had 10 minutes to move it or she would call the tow company herself. I did not yell back. I pulled out my phone and started recording. Jennifer did not care. She smiled and said, "Your camera does not matter. My minutes are the truth." That line hit me like a brick. I had heard it before. 3 years ago, a neighbor 2 streets over got fined for a shed that supposedly violated setback rules. The fine appeared out of nowhere, backdated 6 months. The neighbor tried to fight it, pulled the original meeting minutes from the HOA portal, and found the minutes had been edited. Dates did not match. Approvals that neighbors remembered were missing. The case went quiet after the neighbor paid a settlement to make it go away. Nobody ever found out who changed the records. I moved my truck that morning. I did not have time to argue. But I saved the recording, and I started asking questions. That night, I opened the portal and searched for old parking policy updates. The page Jennifer cited was missing from the resident copy they hand out at closing. I found a cached version from 2 years ago on an Internet Archive site. The rule she quoted did not exist in the original. Someone had added a paragraph later. I printed everything. I started a binder. I labeled it with sticky tabs. One tab said portal edits. One tab said notices. One tab said shed case. The next morning, I got a certified letter. It demanded $300 for the commercial vehicle violation, plus a $50 processing fee. The letter was dated a week earlier, but the envelope postmark was from yesterday. I took a photo of both. Jennifer was the special assessment coordinator. That meant she could threaten sudden new charges whenever the board needed money. It also meant she had admin access to the portal and the notice templates. I called the management company. The woman on the phone said she would look into it. 2 days later, I got an email saying the fine was under review and I should attend the next board meeting if I wanted to dispute it. The meeting was in 3 weeks. The letter said I had 2 weeks to pay or they would add a lien fee. I went back to the shed case. I found the neighbor who paid the settlement. His name was Ron. He lived on Copper Lane. I knocked on his door on a Saturday morning. Ron opened the door holding a coffee mug. He looked tired. I told him I was dealing with a backdated notice and I thought it was connected to his shed case. He sighed and let me in. Ron still had his paperwork. He showed me the original minutes he downloaded and the minutes the board sent him later during the dispute. The dates were different. The approval votes were gone. He said he took it to a lawyer and the lawyer told him it would cost more to fight than to settle. I asked him who was on the board back then. He pulled out the notice letter. Jennifer Wright was listed as the recording secretary. Ron said he always thought Jennifer changed the minutes herself, but he could not prove it. He said the portal audit logs were not available to residents, and the management company would not hand them over without a subpoena. I thanked him and left. I added a new tab to my binder, Audit Logs. 2 days before the board meeting, I got a second notice. This one said my truck was parked in a guest spot overnight, which was not allowed. The notice was printed on the same template as the first one, but the violation date was different. Jennifer was moving the goalposts. I complied with the first rule, so she invented a new one. I took another photo, I added it to the binder, I checked the portal again. The guest parking rule page was still there, but now it had a new line at the bottom. No overnight guest parking without prior approval. The rule was not there a week ago. I had screenshots to prove it. I called the management company again. This time a man answered. He said the board could update rules any time as long as they posted notice to residents. I asked when the notice was posted. He put me on hold. When he came back, he said the notice was posted internally and would be mailed next week. I asked how a rule could be enforced before residents were notified. He said he would check with the board and get back to me. He never called back. I went to the meeting. It was in the clubhouse. The room was set up with a long table at the front and folding chairs for residents. Jennifer sat at the table with the board president and 2 other board members. She had her portable thermal printer on the table in front of her and a stack of notices ready to print. The meeting started. The board president read through routine business. When they got to violations, Jennifer stood up. She pulled out a megaphone. I am not kidding. She used a megaphone inside a room with 20 people. She announced my name and said I had 2 outstanding violations and I owed $350 plus late fees. I raised my hand. The president called on me. I stood up and said the first notice was backdated, and the second rule was added after I was already accused of violating it. I pulled out my binder. I showed the postmark mismatch and the screenshots of the rule page before and after the edit. Jennifer cut me off. She said the rule was always there and I must have missed it. She said the postmark did not matter because the violation date was what counted. She said if I did not pay by the end of the week, they would file a lien. I asked to see the original signed notice with the board president's signature. Jennifer said notices did not require a signature. I asked to see the meeting minutes where the board voted to enforce the new rule. Jennifer said the board did not need to vote on enforcement, only on rule creation. I asked when the rule was created. Jennifer said 2 years ago. I held up the screenshot showing the rule was added 3 days ago. The room went silent. The board president looked at Jennifer. Jennifer said the screenshot was fake. I said I had the metadata. I offered to show the file creation date on my laptop right there. The board president said they would table the discussion and review the records. Jennifer slammed her hand on the table. She said I was wasting everyone's time and she would not negotiate with violations. The security guard near the door stepped forward. He did not say anything, but his presence was enough. Jennifer sat down. The board president said they would revisit my case at the next meeting and suspend the fine until then. Jennifer did not look happy, but she did not argue. I left the meeting and went straight to my truck. I checked my phone. I had 3 missed calls from work. My supervisor wanted to know why I was late for my shift. I called him back. I explained the HOA meeting ran long. He said he did not care about HOA drama, and if I missed another shift, I was done. I told him I understood. I got to work an hour late. I stayed 2 hours past my shift to make up the time. I did not get home until 4 in the morning. When I pulled into my driveway, there was a new notice taped to my garage door. It said my garbage cans were visible from the street, which violated the aesthetic standards. The fine was $200. I ripped the notice off the door and looked at the signature line. No signature. Just a printed name. Jennifer Wright, Special Assessment Coordinator. I took a photo. I added it to the binder. I went inside and collapsed on my couch. I had 6 hours before my next shift started. The next day, I filed a formal records request with the management company. I asked for the portal audit logs, the original unsigned meeting minutes from the shed case, and any correspondence between Jennifer and the management company about enforcement actions. The management company sent me an email 2 days later. They said records requests required a $50 processing fee and 10 business days. I paid the fee. I set a reminder on my phone for 10 business days. While I waited, I started talking to neighbors. I walked the neighborhood on my days off. I asked if anyone else had gotten weird notices or backdated fines. Most people did not want to talk. A few said they had issues but paid the fines to avoid trouble. One neighbor, a woman named Lisa, told me she got a notice last year for a lawn ornament that supposedly violated the rules. She removed the ornament the same day. A week later, she got another notice saying she failed to respond to the first notice. She paid $150 to close the case. She said Jennifer hand-delivered both notices and refused to take them back even after Lisa showed proof she complied. I asked if she kept the notices. She said no. She threw them away. I thanked her and kept walking. I found 2 more neighbors with similar stories. None of them kept paperwork. They all said Jennifer was the one who delivered the notices. 10 business days passed. I did not get the records. I called the management company. The woman on the phone said they were still compiling the documents and needed another week. I asked why it was taking so long. She said Jennifer was the one who had to pull the portal logs, and she was behind on requests. I asked why Jennifer was the one pulling logs if she was the subject of the request. The woman did not have an answer. She said she would escalate it. Another week passed. No records. I called again. This time, nobody answered. I left a voicemail. No callback. I went to the management company office in person. It was in a strip mall 20 minutes away. I walked in and asked to speak to the property manager. The receptionist said he was out. I asked when he would be back. She said she did not know. I sat down in the waiting area. I was not leaving until someone talked to me. After 30 minutes, a man came out from the back. He said he was the assistant manager. I told him I had been waiting 3 weeks for records and I wanted to know why. He looked uncomfortable. He said the request was complicated because it involved potential board misconduct, and they needed to consult their attorney before releasing anything. I asked when the attorney would decide. He said he did not know. I asked if I could file a complaint with the state HOA oversight office. He said Maine does not have one. I left the office and sat in my truck. I felt stuck. I had evidence of backdating and rule manipulation, but I could not get the smoking gun without the portal logs. Jennifer was blocking the request, and the management company was letting her. I needed a different angle. That night, I logged into the portal and tried accessing the admin backend. I did not have admin credentials, but I wanted to see if there was a public changelog or version history. There was not. The portal was locked down. I searched the internet for the portal software name. I found a user forum. I posted a question asking if audit logs were accessible to non-admins. Someone replied within an hour. They said audit logs were admin only, but some portals had a public transparency page if the board enabled it. They sent me a link to the settings documentation. I checked the Autumn Ridge portal. No transparency page. I went back to the binder. I looked at the shed case paperwork Ron gave me. I noticed something I missed before. The edited meeting minutes had a different file name than the original. The edited version was saved as minutes_September_final_V2. The original was minutes_September_final. Someone saved a second version and uploaded it to replace the first one. If I could prove Jennifer uploaded the second version, I had her. I called Ron. I asked if he still had the email where the board sent him the edited minutes. He said he thought so. He would check. 2 days later, Ron sent me a scanned PDF. The email was from the management company, but the attachment metadata showed it was created by a user account with Jennifer's initials. I added the PDF to the binder. I labeled the tab Metadata. I was getting close. I still did not have the full picture, but I had enough to show a pattern. Jennifer was changing records, backdating notices, and inventing violations. The question was, why? The answer came from an unexpected place. I got a call from a neighbor named Greg. He said he heard I was asking about Jennifer, and he had something I needed to see. We met at a coffee shop outside the neighborhood. Greg pulled out his phone. He showed me a doorbell camera video from 3 months ago. The timestamp was 2 a.m. Jennifer was standing on his driveway holding a clipboard and a flashlight. She was looking at his house numbers and taking notes. Greg said he did not think much of it at the time. He assumed she was doing some kind of inspection. But a week later, he got a notice saying his house numbers were the wrong size and needed to be replaced. The fine was $100. He measured his house numbers. They were the correct size according to the bylaws. He disputed the notice. Jennifer sent him a new copy of the bylaws with a revised size requirement. Greg paid the fine because he did not want to fight. I asked if I could have a copy of the video. Greg sent it to my phone. I added it to the binder. I labeled the tab Night Visits. I now had proof Jennifer was fabricating violations. She was walking the neighborhood at night, taking notes, and issuing notices for things that did not violate any rule. Then she was changing the rules retroactively to make the notices stick. The question was still why. Fines went into the HOA general fund. Jennifer did not get paid extra for issuing violations. Unless she did. If you are enjoying this story, hit the like button and subscribe for more HOA revenge tales, where the truth always comes out. I went back to Ron. I asked if he remembered how much the settlement was in the shed case. He said $1,500. I asked where the money went. He said the HOA General Fund. I asked if he ever saw a financial report showing the deposit. He said no. The board did not publish detailed financials. They only sent out an annual summary with vague line items. I requested a copy of the annual report for the year of the shed case. The management company sent it within 2 days. I opened it and scanned the revenue section. There was a line item called compliance fees with a total of $8,000. No breakdown. No detail. I requested the reports for the 2 years before and the 2 years after. The compliance fees line item did not exist before Jennifer became Special Assessment Coordinator. After she took the role, compliance fees appeared every year and grew steadily. Last year it was $12,000. I did the math. If Jennifer was issuing fake violations and collecting fines, and if the board was not auditing the compliance account, she could be skimming. But I needed proof of where the money went. I called my ally, a neighbor named Paul who worked in accounting. I met him at his house and showed him the financials. He looked them over and said the compliance fees number was high for a neighborhood this size. He said a normal HOA might collect $2,000 or $3,000 a year in violation fines. $12,000 was a red flag. Paul said if I wanted to prove embezzlement, I needed bank statements or a forensic audit. I did not have access to either. But Paul had an idea. He said the HOA was required to file a tax return every year. The return was public record. If Jennifer was stealing money, there might be a discrepancy between what the HOA reported to the IRS and what they reported to residents. I requested the HOA tax returns from the state. It took a week, but I got them. I compared the compliance fees line on the annual report to the fine revenue line on the tax return. They did not match. The tax return showed $6,000 in fine revenue. The annual report showed $12,000. $6,000 was missing. I added the tax returns to the binder. I labeled the tab Revenue Gap. I now had a motive. Jennifer was issuing fake violations, collecting fines, and pocketing half the money. The board was not auditing her, and the management company was not asking questions. She had been doing it for years. But I still needed the smoking gun proof. I needed the portal logs showing she edited the minutes and the rules, and I needed to prove the money went to her. I decided to set a trap. I went back to the management company office. I asked to meet with the property manager again. This time he was there. I told him I had evidence of financial discrepancies and I was considering filing a complaint with the IRS. I said I wanted to give the board a chance to address it internally first. The property manager looked nervous. He said he would bring it to the board president. I said I wanted a response within a week. 3 days later, I got a call from the board president. He said the board was taking my concerns seriously and they were hiring an independent auditor to review the compliance account. He said the audit would take a month. I thanked him. I did not tell him I was recording the call. 2 days after that, Jennifer filed a frivolous small claims lawsuit against me. She claimed I owed $850 in unpaid fines and fees. The court date was in 6 weeks. Jennifer was escalating. She was trying to force me into court and bury me in legal costs before the audit finished. But she made a mistake. She filed the lawsuit using the same backdated notices I had already proven were fake. She attached them to the court filing as evidence. I had her. I called a lawyer. I explained the situation and showed him the binder. He looked through the evidence and said I had a strong case. He said he could represent me in small claims court for a flat fee. I paid him. The lawyer filed a counterclaim. We alleged fraud, defamation, and abusive process. We attached the binder as evidence. Jennifer did not respond to the counterclaim. She tried to withdraw her lawsuit 2 weeks later. The court denied the withdrawal because my counterclaim was still active. We were going to court. While we waited for the court date, the HOA audit finished. The board president sent an email to all residents. The audit found discrepancies in the compliance account. $6,000 in collected fines were not deposited into the HOA account. The auditor recommended a full forensic review. The email did not name Jennifer, but everyone knew. The board scheduled an emergency meeting. I went to the meeting. So did half the neighborhood. The clubhouse was packed. Jennifer was not there. The board president stood up and said the board was taking the audit findings seriously. He said they had suspended Jennifer's admin access to the portal and removed her from the special assessment coordinator role. He said they were cooperating with the forensic review and would take further action based on the results. A neighbor in the back row stood up and asked if the board knew how long Jennifer had been stealing. The president said the auditor found evidence going back 4 years. Another neighbor asked how much money was missing total. The president said they did not have a final number yet, but it was more than $6,000. Someone asked if the board was going to press charges. The president said they were consulting with their attorney. I raised my hand. The president called on me. I said I had evidence Jennifer had also been editing meeting minutes and changing rules on the portal to cover up fake violations. I said I was willing to share the evidence with the board and the forensic auditor. The president thanked me. He said they would contact me. The meeting ended. I stayed behind to talk to the board president. I gave him a copy of the binder. He flipped through it and looked stunned. He said he had no idea Jennifer was manipulating records. He said the board trusted her because she had been with the HOA since the beginning. I told him about the shed case and the other neighbors who got fake notices. I told him about the doorbell video showing Jennifer prowling at night. I told him about the metadata on the edited minutes. The president said he would forward everything to the forensic auditor and the attorney. He thanked me again and said the board owed me an apology. I said I just wanted the fines dropped and my record cleared. He said he would make sure it happened. 2 weeks later, the forensic audit report came out. Jennifer had stolen $14,000 over 4 years. She issued fake violations, collected fines, and deposited half the money into her personal account. She used the HOA checking account to process the payments, then transferred funds out using a debit card she was not authorized to have. The report also confirmed she edited the portal records. The audit logs showed her user account made over 200 changes to meeting minutes, rule pages, and violation notices over 3 years. Most of the changes were to backdate or alter enforcement language. The board forwarded the report to the police. Jennifer was charged with theft and fraud. The court case was scheduled for 4 months out. My small claims case was still pending. My lawyer said we would use the audit report as evidence in court. He said Jennifer's case was going to collapse. 3 weeks before the court date, I got another surprise. The management company sent me a check. It was a refund of fees that hits the ledger like a slap. The amount was $850, the exact total of the fines Jennifer tried to collect. The memo line said, "Account correction." I deposited the check. I did not hear from Jennifer again. Court day came. I showed up with my lawyer. Jennifer showed up alone. No attorney. She looked smaller than I remembered. She sat on the opposite side of the courtroom and did not make eye contact. The judge called the case. My lawyer stood up and asked to present evidence. The judge allowed it. My lawyer handed the judge a copy of the forensic audit report, the binder with the backdated notices and metadata, and the doorbell video showing Jennifer prowling at night. The judge reviewed everything. It took 20 minutes. The courtroom was silent. The judge looked at Jennifer and asked if she had anything to say. Jennifer said the audit was flawed and the board was targeting her because she tried to enforce the rules. The judge asked if she denied editing the portal records. Jennifer hesitated. She said she made corrections to fix errors. The judge asked if she had authorization to make those corrections. Jennifer said the board gave her admin access. The judge asked if the board authorized her to backdate notices. Jennifer did not answer. The judge ruled in my favor. He dismissed Jennifer's claim and awarded me damages for the counterclaim. He also ordered Jennifer to pay my legal fees. Jennifer walked out without a word. 2 months later, the criminal case went to trial. Jennifer pled guilty to theft and fraud. She was sentenced to probation and ordered to pay restitution to the HOA. The judge also banned her from serving on any HOA board in the state for 10 years. The board issued a formal apology to me and the other neighbors who got fake notices. They wiped all the fines from the records. They also voted to implement new policies requiring board approval for all violation notices and monthly audits of the compliance account. The management company replaced the property manager. The new manager promised transparency and said residents could request portal audit logs anytime. I kept the binder. I did not need it anymore, but I wanted to remember. One afternoon, I ran into Paul at the mailbox cluster. He said the neighborhood felt different now. People were talking to each other again. The board was holding open forums. The compliance Gestapo vibe was gone. I said it was about time. Paul laughed. He said he heard Jennifer try to join a different HOA board in a nearby town. The board rejected her application after running a background check. I said good. A few weeks after that, I got a call from Ron. He said the board was discussing refunds for all the residents who paid fake fines over the years. The forensic auditor estimated the total was around $30,000. The HOA was working with their insurance company to cover it. Ron said he was getting back $1,500. He sounded happy. I told him I was glad. I said none of this would have happened if he had not kept his paperwork. Ron said none of it would have happened if I had not reopened the case. I did not know what to say to that. I just said I was tired of people like Jennifer getting away with it. Ron said me too. The board voted to mediate with a neutral third party for any future disputes. They hired a new management company that specialized in transparency and resident rights. The new company installed an updated portal with public audit logs and version history for all rule changes. Jennifer never came back to the neighborhood. I heard she moved out of state. The final piece came a few months later. I got an email from the board president. He said the HOA attorney reviewed the evidence I provided and confirmed Jennifer had committed at least 18 separate acts of fraud and records tampering. The attorney said my documentation was the key to proving the pattern. The email thanked me and said the board was naming the new transparency policy after the case. They called it the Resident Evidence Protection Policy. I did not need the recognition, but it felt good to know the next person would not have to fight as hard. I closed the email and looked at the binder on my desk. I thought about throwing it away, but I did not. I put it on a shelf in my closet, just in case. Because people like Jennifer always think they are smarter than everyone else. They think they can bury the evidence and move on. They think nobody will look. But someone always looks. Someone always keeps the receipts. Someone always reopens the case. And when they do, the truth comes out. I went back to work. My supervisor never asked about the HOA again. I kept my shifts. I kept my job. I kept my house. And every time I pulled into the neighborhood, I looked at the Autumn Ridge sign near the gate. It used to make me tense. Now it just looked like a sign. The cold case was closed. The records were clean. The neighborhood was quiet. And Jennifer Wright got stripped of access to the portal admin tools, just like she deserved. I let her think I was cornered, because my trump card needed her to overreach. And when she did, I played the clip out loud in the meeting so Karen cannot talk over it. The package of photos proving multiple homeowners do the same thing without enforcement sat in my binder the whole time, waiting for the right moment. And when that moment came, the room saw everything. Her stopwatch and ruler routine got mocked by the room when the truth came out. People laughed when they realized she had been measuring house numbers at 2 a.m. with a flashlight and a clipboard. The absurdity of it all finally hit everyone at once. The refund of fees that hit the ledger like a slap was just the beginning. Jennifer lost her role, her access, her credibility, and her freedom to manipulate anyone, ever again. The board agreed to mediation with a neutral third party, and the new policies made sure no one could ever pull the same scam again. I do not know what Jennifer is doing now. I do not care. She is gone, and the neighborhood is better for it. The forensic auditor closed the case, the police closed the case, the court closed the case, and I closed the binder and put it away. But I will never forget the look on her face when the judge read the audit report out loud in court. She knew it was over. She knew she got caught. And she knew she had no one to blame but herself. Thanks for watching, and I appreciate your time.